Hi, it's Dr. Jan with some wise words to work with. And today I want to talk to you about how to run good meetings, even if you have somebody who's toxic in your environment. And what I recommend is that you prepare. Okay, you prepare for times when there's toxic people and you're going to have to come in contact with them. And the best way to do it is to stick by rigid rules, okay? So for example, a good example of rigid rules is actually using Robert's Rules of Order, because they have very rigid rules for everything. And for workplace bullies and toxic workplace people, having those rigid rules that you can fall back on, okay, is very good, because when they push back, you can say, hey, we have to do A, B, and C according to Robert's rules, and then they have no course of action. Okay, let's say you don't want to use Robert's Rules of Order, okay, because there's a lot to that, but you want to run good meetings, have boundaries, have time frames for when people can do things, have agendas, how people can add things to the agenda. And if they don't do it, then it's you can't do it. Okay. And then follow those things. Okay. In the first few meetings, when you have rules that you're going to follow, people will push back. Okay. So expect a lot of chaos. Okay. But you're trying to grab the reins. Okay, so you have a few meetings that are chaotic. Eventually, when people understand that 5 minutes is 5 minutes and they're going to be cut off for that, then you'll get control. Okay, and here's the other thing too. Have some professional standards that you're going to follow. So if there's a lot of yelling or those things going on in meetings, okay, and you're going to say no more yelling, you have to abide by those as the leader. So the best thing you can do is, when you're trying to gain control over a toxic culture, is do some assessment and figure out where are the problems. So what is happening in meetings? Are people going over? Are people being interrupted? Then set those as rules, okay? And say, we're going to have time frames. We're going to follow the agenda. We're going to have these rules. Put them up so people can see them. And then you can say this: we're going to be kind to people. We agreed to that, right? We all agreed to that, and that's what we're going to do. And I understand, John, that you're upset about things. We said we're going to be kind to people. All right, thank you, John. I appreciate your input. Let's move on, okay? And you're going to have to just have some standard things that you can say. You're going to have to cut people off. You're going to have to hold the reins tight to hold people accountable. But if you can do that, okay, again, you have to be the role model. I was thinking about a few things the other day when I realized that I had picked up some phraseology that my son used, okay? And again, when we are around people a lot, okay, and and they are doing things, we tend to take on those things after we've been around people for a long period of time. So if you're the leader and you're role modeling good behavior, you're holding people accountable to that standard of behavior, and you've put in place a set of rules for how things could be done, eventually over time, after people get over the initial pushback, people will follow those. And if they don't want to follow those, they'll leave. Okay, so you'll keep the people who will follow the professional standards and follow the good behavior. The people who don't want to do that will cycle themselves out. And that's actually good. So again, let's recap. When you are trying to hold people accountable to a standard of behavior, you have to hold firm, expect pushback, set the rules up front, okay, so that everybody knows them. Sometimes it's good to have consensus. You don't have to have consensus if you're the leader, right? So set the standards, tell people what they can do, tell them what they won't get away with, then hold them to that. Expect people to push back, But remember, over time, eventually those good, firm behaviors that you want to see, people will eventually take those on. Okay? Just stick with it. Okay? And it could take a long time, especially if bully culture has been happening for a long time, but those professional behaviors that you want to see happen, if you hold the reins long enough and hold people accountable to them, eventually those will be the behaviors that people will replicate. Okay? Those will be the behaviors that people will replicate. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, and share. And if you need anything, please email me at jan@stopbullyculture.com.